How is it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review. Today we're going to be reviewing this 2015 Chevy Camaro SS. Now before we get into the video, this car is actually offered for sale at Carmel, Westfield, New Jersey. I'll leave a link to their site down in the description below if you want to go check it out. This is a very low mileage used Camaro. It's actually just under 12,000 original miles. It was a one owner vehicle, so I mean this thing is pretty much mint. Even though it's a 2015, it is pretty much just brand spanking new. And I do really love this factory paint color. This is a silver ice metallic from factory, and it's actually one of 9 exterior paint color options. And I do like the kind of little black accents and almost carbon looking accents. It's not real carbon fiber like some of the stickers, I guess, on the fake vents right here. And also moving to the badge, you can see like a kind of fake carbon fiber badge. It is fake, but I mean it still does look really good, and it does tie the car together really well. And also I do know I have the side windows rolled down right now, but they are tinted, and you can see the tint on these kind of like body windows on the side right here. But overall, I do actually really like the look of these Camaros from the exterior. This is obviously a 5th gen Camaro, and 2015 was actually the last year for the 5th gen Camaros. Anyone who knows anything about Camaros, or I guess cars in general, you do know that these 5th gen Camaros were actually made really famous before they even came out, due to the release of the first Transformers movies. I feel like everyone remembers that scene when Bumblebee kind of transforms into the old Camaro, into the new one, and everyone probably went crazy because those cars really weren't even out yet. And again, the year for these 5th gens was 2010 to 2015, and the 4th gen Camaros were actually 1993 to 2002. So from 2002 to 2010, there was basically a gap where no new Camaros were being made, and that actually allowed the Camaro's main rival, the Ford Mustang, to really dominate the market, or at least I should say the domestic market. And especially after 2005 with the release of the S197 Mustang, that really brought back that modern retro design. And as a matter of fact, I actually just did a review on a 2005 Mustang GT where I go on to talk about that a little bit more in depth. But anyways, with that gap and with the Mustang continuing to sell and make units, Chevy really had to hit back hard when they came out with the Camaro, and these 5th gen Camaros did just that. I mean, they basically did the same thing that the Mustang did, where they came back with a modern retro design. And a lot of people really loved how these kind of new 5th gens looked, and a lot of people did think that they did the same thing that the S197 Mustangs did, and really captured the heritage and kind of like the 1960s era of American muscle cars. Another advantage of this 5th gen Camaro over the S197 Mustangs is that this actually does have independent suspension, and let me tell you, it is a lot easier to control on the road compared to those Mustangs. But it is also a lot easier to control on the road because this thing almost weighs 4,000 pounds, believe it or not. This 2015 Camaro SS does come in at a whopping 3,935 pounds, so that definitely does slow it down a bit and take away a decent amount of the driving experience. But again, it is more of a, I guess, daily kind of commuter, easier to handle on the road when compared to the Mustang GTs. Now moving on to the wheels, we do have the factory setup here. So you have the 20-inch alloy wheels, and in the rear they're wrapped in 275s by 40s by 20s. And then the front tires are actually 245s by 45s by 20s, and they basically just, you know, standard all-season tires. The brakes are also Brembo brakes from factory. You can see that logo, it's a little bit faded, but that's right from factory. So it looks like a bigger caliper up in the front, and then just like a traditional 2-piston caliper, I believe, in the rear. But yeah, these Camaros did come with Brembo brakes, which is another thing you didn't really see on the Mustang GTs. You did see that on the Shelby GT500s, but again, that's like the top of the line Mustang. Whereas this SS, that basically just came with its standard, which is another really cool option. Now, popping the hood right off the bat, you can see the 6.2 liter old school 2-valve per cylinder overhead valve V8 that actually powers this thing. And this is actually the legendary LS3. This engine is very, very popular in swaps or resto mods because of its reliability and power. And honestly, for the most part, all LSs are like, that's what they're famous for, I guess. But the LS3 is really, really a very good benchmark and a fantastic power plant. And also, these LS3s were found in the later year C6 Corvettes. The earlier ones did have those LS2s. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty much the same exact engines you find in those later year C6 Corvettes. You can see that the engine head covers are a little bit different. The intake manifold, I think, is different as well. But for the most part, it's the same exact engine, except on the Corvettes, instead of saying like Chevy with like the kind of weird fake bolts that are going on over there, they basically just say Corvette with like LS3 on them. And also, just like the exterior and the interior, the engine bay is also extremely clean with this car because it's just so low mileage and well taken care of. And also, this LS3 does produce a peak 426 horsepower at 5,900 RPMs and 420 foot-pounds of torque at 4,600 RPMs. And surprisingly, it actually gets a pretty damn good gas mileage as well, getting 19 miles per gallon during city driving, 24 miles per gallon during highway driving, for a combined average of around 19 miles per gallon. And with this thing having a 19-gallon fuel tank, its range is right around 304 city miles or 456 highway miles on a full tank of gas. Now, moving on to probably, honestly, my least favorite part of this car, the interior. It is chiming right now just because I have the keys in the ignition. But these 5th gen Camaro interiors I really just dislike. And for the most part, there's really nothing different between the SSs and the RSs. One of the very first vehicles I actually reviewed was my buddy's 2013 Camaro RS, and I'll leave a link to that on top of the video right now. But honestly, it was one of my first videos, so the videos, it's not as smooth as some of my newer reviews, let's just put it that way. But anyways, like the visibility on this, it's very bad. I do, however, like the black leather all around the interior. It does complement the black accents on the exterior very well. And it still is extremely clean. I mean, if I actually turn the key and start it up here, you can hear that LS3 actually come to life a little bit. Looking at the odometer, yeah, 11,920 miles, which is just, I mean, it's really unheard of for a 2015 model year car. But even like looking to the side here, like you could tell the visibility is really bad there. You pretty much have no quarter window visibility at all. And then you do have the frameless rear view mirror, which I do really like, with the integrated OnStar and the kind of like roadside assistance. And also, unfortunately, this car is an automatic. Me personally, I just like driving manual better. That's why I said that. But it does have sport mode, which we will, of course, test out on the drive today. And with that being said, I'm pretty much just going to take this thing for a drive and show you guys my initial reactions. All right, guys, so now I'm actually driving this 2015 Camaro SS. And by the way, unfortunately, my GoPro just died towards the end of that walk around, so I had to switch over to my phone. So I apologize if the footage comes out a little shaky or just not up to par. I'm gonna try to make this quick. So with this car, it does have two different options when you're driving it. You can put it in sport mode and it could still act like an automatic. It just changes the shift points. Or you can put it in manual mode and control when it shifts with these paddle shifters. And I am driving it in manual mode just because, I mean, I like driving manual, or at least feel like I'm driving manual. But I mean, these paddle shifters, I really don't like the paddle shifters. I had the same complaint when I reviewed my buddy's RS. And I mean, they're just tiny, they're plastic, they feel cheap, and they move with the steering wheel and I mean, if any of you have been subscribed to me or have seen any of my other reviews, I just hate when the paddle shifters like move with the wheel. I like when they're actually just mounted to the column. For me, they feel just so much better when they're actually just staying in one place. Yeah, and I mean, it still definitely has some balls behind it, but you could feel the weight though. You could definitely feel the weight in this car. Again, it's fun to drive this thing. It does have a V8. If I had it, I would definitely either throw in a cat back and some headers, or do a full custom exhaust or something like that to definitely just open up this LS3. And honestly, in some cases, the exhaust is just for sound. But with something like the LS3, it responds extremely well to kind of simple bolt-on modifications, whether it's colder intake, an exhaust, like maybe long tube headers or something, a tune, or even something more complicated like a different camshaft. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely still a lot of fun. I know I was ripping on it a little bit before because it's a heavy car, but this LS3 is such a good engine and makes really good power. And again, this is all stock. I mean, this is all stock, so I wasn't expecting much, but it's definitely still a lot of fun to drive. Also, the fact that this is automatic, again, definitely takes away from the real experience as well. Then again, if you don't know how to drive manual or whatever, this would be a fantastic car to both have fun with and also be an easy car to commute in, really. I mean, with those miles per gallon numbers that we saw before in the walk around, it's not an incredibly impractical car. And one thing actually that is pretty good about this interior, that I know just comparing to like my Mustang, I feel like the interior is very spacious. Again, it's a surprisingly heavy car and the visibility is really not good at all, but there's really a lot of space in here. I also do really enjoy the touchscreen center display. There's a lot of different options, and for a car that was built in 2015, I mean, it's definitely not luxurious. There's a lot of like plastic and cheap materials in this interior. But it does have a lot of creature comforts and a lot of options that you might not see in some of the competitors, some of the domestic competitors. You're definitely not going to see it in the Mustang, and probably not in those year Challengers and Chargers as well. Yeah, even though again it's the factory exhaust and at low RPMs it's really quiet, when you get it up there, that just LS growl really, it does sound really good. And honestly, something kind of ironic, I feel like the more I drive this car, the more I actually kind of like it. And I say that because I know I was definitely ripping on it a decent amount before, and there's probably some people that already put some negative comments down in the video, like all mad at me or whatever, saying that, oh, it's just because I'm a Mustang guy. But honestly, the more I drive it, the more I actually really enjoy driving it. And again, it's unfortunate that this is auto and that this generation Camaro just weighs so damn much. Then again, I feel like a lot of the modern Camaros just weigh a lot more than you'd expect them to. But even when you take those things into consideration, this still is a very fun car. Another thing that's a little bit awkward, I guess, about the system in this car is that when you're in manual mode, it will occasionally switch it back to automatic if you're not shifting that much. Like right there, actually, yeah, right there, as I was talking, it just shifted it over back into normal drive. And it does it, honestly, kind of at awkward times. Like, I feel like sometimes you might not be thinking about it, and then you try to downshift and it's in auto. But then when you do downshift, it does kind of put it immediately right back into manual mode, which is kind of good if you're like on the highway and then, you know, someone pulls up next to you and, you know, wanted to play a little bit. But I just feel like it could be awkward at times, especially driving it in different situations. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much just gonna wrap it up for today. I know I have a lot of mixed feelings about this Camaro, but overall I do think it is actually a pretty awesome car. And I do really love these LSs, and specifically the LS3s. And also, if you are in the market for a 5th gen Camaro and you come across this video, definitely be sure to check out Karma of Westfield, New Jersey, because this is a very low mileage and clean Camaro. And like always, guys, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.